Okay, welcome to Thursday, May 16th. Springtime is upon us, summer's coming on, and I got to tell you, probably one of the worst allergy pollen seasons I can remember. We talked about pollen a few episodes ago about how the male tree pollens are everywhere, and they're winding down, but it has been a nasty, nasty year. We're coming into the Bay Area weekend. The weekends are getting more uh, filled with things to do, especially outdoor. We'll talk about the outdoor weather after we talk a little bit about Lassen. And the reason I talk about a lot about California because I think people have moved here and don't really get. I mean, I shouldn't say it, they don't really get California, but California is a hard place to get. Where we came from, who we are, we'll go into that someday. But basically, this place is full of artists, engineers, musicians, athletes. It's one of them. It's an amazing place. It was settled by those types of people and has since grown. Now, everybody who came here in the last couple of generations or in the last 10 years or 20 years, you kind of go to places like Mount Lassen and you not sure, it's a volcano and it's the southern edge of the Cascade Range, but you don't realize it was a thriving ski resort at one time. You don't really know that in the 20s it erupted. 1921 was the last eruption, and my grandfather saw that eruption because it was erupting from like 1915 to 1921 in various iterations. So there's Mount Lassen now, beautiful shot. It's a great place to go if you've never climbed Mount Lassen. I hope I didn't say Mount Shasta. I get them mixed up a little bit, but Mount Lassen, if you've never climbed it, it's a good climb. It's doable. It's a nice trail. I can't remember how long it took me. It's been a while, but it's a very doable hike and it's worth doing. So Mount Lassen, again, you forget, dude, this is 1914 to 1921. There was a series of eruptions there. It's still an active volcano. There's not a huge chance that it's going to erupt, but from 1914 to 1921, this thing had a series of eruptions. I mean, imagine that. So you're in Red Bluff or you're in this guy's cabin looking at that thing, and think about it for a minute, man. United States, no live volcanoes, right? This is the first one. I can't remember how far back it goes, but Mount St. Helens was the last one, which was really rare because that was in current times, at least my current times. So imagine being one of the pioneers and being in Red Bluff and seeing this thing exploding. That's a smoke plume or ash plume in gas, about 5 miles high, 30,000 feet into the atmosphere. This was an eruption from Red Bluff. In 1915, the Central Valley was full of people. Like, I think that picture of Red Bluff, I grew up in that area, played football against the Red Bluff team, knew a lot of the guys, Red Bluff Roundup every year, rodeo. I swear to God, Red Bluff was bigger then than it is now. I mean, look at that downtown, right? So this wasn't just one eruption, but this was a series of eruptions that occurred throughout 14 to 21. The gas and ash cloud went up over 5 miles high, so 30,000 feet or so, maybe even a little higher than that. And it blew downstream because it's kind of a westerly flow. So the ash ended up as far as Winnemucca, Nevada, which is 200, probably even further now, probably 350 miles away. They had ash, which is a function of these volcanoes. Will Mount Lassen erupt anytime soon? You kind of know it's coming because, like Mount St. Helens, you have a series of earthquakes and they get closer and closer together, and you know when something's going on, right? And right now they're saying that the chance of an eruption on Mount Lassen is about a 1% chance in the next 30 years. But in the next 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, it's definitely going to erupt again. It erupts, I think, once every 100 to 200,000 years, a big eruption anyway. And you can these pictures to me are marvelous. I mean, again, imagine that. If that happened now, it did happen at St. Helens, but Helens was pretty remote. Now you got Chico, Red Bluff, Redding. These guys are all at the base of this active volcano. And don't forget Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta hasn't erupted in a long time. There's an opportunity for that one to erupt too. We haven't seen that in our tenure here in the West Coast, but these volcanoes, isn't it interesting? I mean, so you got Lake Tahoe, you got the granite batholith, which is Lake Tahoe in the Sierra Nevada, and then it cuts kind of right about kind of Butte Meadows. It's all kind of volcanic, but it turns into the volcano string from the Southern Cascades north up through Rainier. And Lassen is the most obvious southerly volcano. And then the piece a lot of folks don't know is the ski resort. It opened, they were skiing up there in 1916, which makes sense, which is interesting because Volcano was popping off then. That's interesting. I kind of looked that up too, and they said they were skiing. I don't know how that went down. Like I wouldn't want to be up there on a volcano skiing, and if it was active, or it is, if it was actively active. The rope tow came in 1935, and then the lodge. This lodge you see here, that was money. That was built in '64, and that's the first time I went up there. I was 6 years old. We were skiing. I actually broke my ankle skiing up at Lassen, which was that's a whole nother story. But that lodge seemed massive to me, and that run up the back, that's a pommel lift. If you can remember what a pommel lift is, it's I don't know if it's like it's a pool and it's got a little seat and you put it between your legs and you go up the face. And that was sort of where the big dogs, all the big dogs kind of hung out there. And the last thing I'll say about Mount Lassen is that's where the cool cats hung out, because you got to remember Chico State was there, and skiing was a lot like surfing back in those days. And what I mean by that is it was a lot like it was just very almost counterculture, really. And you can kind of see by the way these kids and people rolled back then, just this snapshot. There's very few vintage snapshots of Mount Lassen, a ski resort, but you can see that they're not, this isn't a typical 1958 1960 crowd. These guys and gals are all pretty unique and different. So that's my take on Mount Lassen. That's how I kind of grew up in that area. And so when you drive by it or go to it or or hike it, just kind of remember these things. It's active volcano. Last year it was erupting in the early 1920s. There was a ski resort that was thriving. And one of the things about the ski resort that's interesting is it really thrived when Mount Shasta, because they had a ski bowl there too, when Mount Shasta had a huge avalanche, it took everything out. So Mount Lassen in the early 70s was the only show in town. And some genius, actually, I don't remember who it was, and I couldn't find the t-shirt online, but it was, the t-shirt was Ski a Volcano. And I think it was at that time the only volcano, I can't remember if it was the only one, but it was just a cool logo. And so you had these t-shirts proliferating everywhere. Okay, you've got fog proliferating everywhere. There it is right there. Let me move this over here. And you can see where we are. This is the satellite image. And you can see the fog really, really pushing inland. And that fog is riding on a strong westerly wind, deep inversion or deep marine layer. And that's what's pushing it in. And this is the story, literally, the next 3-4 days. It's going to cool down as we go into the weekend, as that marine layer keeps stretching out and just the fog and just basically the ocean air pours in, not just to the Bay Area, but all the way into the Sacramento Valley. So that it's going to have modifying temperature corrections on everybody. Ocean Beach, you can see how high the clouds are, like almost like a low cloud day. Live picture, Central Ocean Beach. You can see the wind blowing in the trees. How people go, how do you forecast the fog? I start here, I go here, and then I go to the profiler. There's the profiler here, and right here, remember I said that last night, that blue line, this blue line here. See how it kind of goes up, and the yellow, just think of it as warm. This is the marine layer pinching down yesterday afternoon. This is the marine layer thickening up in the evenings, and you can see in the last hour, and time runs this way. You can see in the last hour or two that it's up to over 2,200 feet. You get much deeper than that, you don't have a marine layer at all. The marine layer kind of goes away. So let's see what we got here. I'm going to put in, there it is. Okay, so this is our surface map, and I just want to show you no rain, and see the lines, the corduroy, but it's going north-south. That's westerly wind, because the wind wants to blow across the isobars at the surface. And when they pack tightly like that, you've got a strong wind, and that correlates really well with, okay, well, we've got a bunch of fog well inland. We've got deep marine layer and strong winds in the trees. We've got, you can actually pick out the winds on the profiler, but we've got, again, deep marine layer confirmed. And then you've got these isobars. So all this stuff kind of matches up. The winds die down, then they tighten up again. And then, I mean, look at this. This is on Saturday afternoon. cool, and then see when I'm just going to where they really pack up right here. So that's Sunday afternoon. All right, so we're getting through it, and then here's the 5-day forecast. So with that, it's going to be a little cooler on the weekends. These are subtle changes, but this is all stuff you can do. So go visible satellite in the summer. Go visible satellite. Go to the Surfline page and look for the fog. Go to anywhere. Go to Santa Cruz. Go to Monterey. Go to San Francisco and check for the fog visually. I can see it. And then number 3, I like the profiler myself, and then you can look at the College of DuPay. The College of DuPay GFS model run to see the surface gradients. It's a lot, I know. It's a lot, but it's still fun. Okay, I'll see you back here tomorrow.